Hey everybody, welcome back to Rubbin Racing Podcast. It's brought to you by Cabo Wabo Tequila, which I have right here if you're watching us on Rumble right now. Cabo Wabo Tequila, what's that? It's an unquestionably Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. And it isn't just tequila, it's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila, and it is delicious. Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of Nascar, and you can add a bold splash to race day watching with Cabo Wabo Tequila. If you're heading to Darlington this weekend, come celebrate race day with Cabo Wabo, and they want to remind you to leave the driving to the professionals, so please enjoy the thick-cut, bold taste of Cabo Wabo Tequila responsibly. Grab your buds and a bottle of Cabo Wabo Tequila. I like the Blanco, but I think I got the Reposado right here. No, I have the Anejo. For the boldest race day experience, you got to be 21 years or older to handle this stuff. Enjoy the races. And then Cabo Wabo has a race coming up. They'll, I think, doing the Cabo Wabo 250 again in Michigan coming up in a couple of months, I'm assuming. So we'll keep an eye on that. How are you, boys? How's everything going?
Fantastic. How are we doing?
Good. I just got back from Vegas. We had the Canelo Alvarez fight out there. Myself and our good friend Cody, who you guys may have heard mentioned on the show because he's been to a bunch of NASCAR races. He's a consummate professional and good friend of everybody here in this room. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's good. So we had a really good time. Derby day, I was just telling the boys, I hit the 11 and the 12 race, the Derby and the 11th race. So I was hot as a pistol, man. Missed out on a 5-leg parlay because I decided that the Timberwolves were no good because I didn't know any better. It winds up they're fucking world beaters.
Yep.
And that's it. Life moves on. Quiggs is in the house. Manoli's in the house. And Spider is in the house after being scooped on another fucking news outlet. We'll get to that in a second.
I'm
gonna go through the whole fucking thing because I saw it. They put the picture of me up, and then they quote you, and neither of it was like we were just kind of conjecture. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. DMs. We got one from Brandon. Brandon's guy who is regular with us as far as DMs go. He's a good guy. He has a Ford theory. Spider had said, why don't we talk about who's going to get Ford off the schneid? As we know, Ford came very close to winning the race, as close as possible in the history of NASCAR to winning a race this weekend to get off of this drought. This Brandon guy had sent me a theory on why Ford has been underperforming. I was about to say shitting the bed, but has been underperforming this season. And this is what he says. Back when Ford was dominant, it was always a horsepower thing. Ever since the horsepower was reduced and now the combo with this new car, I feel that's why they're struggling. This is more of a sports car. If NASCAR moved back to high horsepower, Ford would be a lot better. Chevy historically was always a good aero car. Toyota was always good with grip and handling, and Ford was horsepower. So with the reduction in power, I think Ford is struggling to catch it big time on aero and grip. I can't confirm or deny any of that. I love the fact that people are throwing that type of stuff out there into the ether. But either way, these guys need to get off the schneid. And after this weekend, seeing how well Chris Buescher raced, who do you guys think? Because we didn't mention him as being the guy to break this drought last week. We didn't mention Chris at all. We were talking about Blaney and stuff like that. Who do you think breaks it? I'm going to ask you first.
I was hoping to go last, actually. I'll give my pick first, though. My pick is going to be Chris Buescher.
Okay.
I almost misspoke.
I thought you were going to say McDowell.
No. I'm going Chris Buescher, and here's why. I feel like last season when he finally figured it out, he was hot for what felt like a month in a row, including 2 wins in a row. He got 3, but it seemed like he was in contention for 4 consecutive weeks where he was the car to beat and the class of the Fords, if you will. So I think it's I almost did it again. I think it's Chris Buescher. And I mean, despite what the odds say right now, if you look at the odds for Darlington, it looks like Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and even Brad Kay are ahead of Chris Buescher. But I'm going Chris Buescher, and I'm interested to see what the rest of the season looks like for RFK. But I do think it'll be Buescher that gets it done first, and that's going off last season's record, which I pretty much do every week with my gambling card. So based on last year, it's got to be Buescher for me.
I don't know. I think it would be, which isn't a big leap, I think it'd be Buescher, Keselowski, Blaney, or Logano. And out of those 4, I think probably Logano. Logano can just sneak up and win one. I think I'd go Logano, but I think it'd come from those 4 probably, which are the top Fords.
Is anyone even considering Gragson with the way that he's running?
If you asked me the first Stuart Haas car to get a win, I would say Gregson, but I'm not sure in terms of the Fords. Some of the guys that Noah would be competing against to be the first Ford to win are one, Ryan Blaney, who's last year's champion. Two, Joey Logano, who's done it, won a championship. I don't know. I think there's a lot of Fords that are equally as desperate, and
I don't know. He's
Noah would be a
racing unbelievably, but I don't know if he's getting a win anytime soon.
Yeah, I think the beauty of Noah this year is that he's finding top 10s in cars that otherwise wouldn't be top 10 cars. Not he's competing for wins. Now, not to say he can't steal a win somewhere, but I don't think he'll be the first Ford.
You guys, are they panic mode? Because it seems to be on every talk show, every podcast.
Yeah.
Right. Or is this the first year of the dark horse? We kind of expected some growing pains. This may be more growing pains than we expected, but we saw what just happened last weekend. We're right there, potentially.
I think both can be true. The growing pains were to be expected with the new body style they introduced, but at the same time, they probably weren't expecting it to be this bad. I mean, we're a third way through the regular season with nothing to show for it. On the other flip side of that argument, you have to look at the 3 times that they've been robbed at the finish line, as I've outlined in the most recent blog I wrote. You can see 3 times they've lost by all 0.003 of a second or less. So they've certainly been, robbed and unlucky. So I don't think it's as bad as the media narrative is painting it to be. But the reality of the situation is they are still winless. So until they kind of shake that slump, I think they're going to be in the crosshairs.
Shout out to Spider, by the way, blogging NASCAR on the main page. He does a very good job, particularly if you missed some of the race or whatever. I think Spider does a very good job kind of getting in there and giving you the nuts and bolts and still having an opinion to give also. So I'll retweet and do whenever Spider puts a pen to paper, and I know Rubbin will do the same thing. So if you do come across it, take a little time, and I think it's one of the better recaps that you can get of a race coming out of Spider. But be careful, because sometimes he says stuff and people fucking take it as gospel. So I'm going to go to headlines, and some outlets are reporting Martin Truex Jr. may be stepping away because Bass Pro Shops is going away, and their source is us. According to the latest rumors, Martin might retire this season as his longtime sponsor, Bass Pro, is exiting the sport. Rubbin' His Racing podcast, Daniel Diorios, a.k.a. Spider, pointed out in the latest episode, reported that the TRD driver is going to retire and is going to clear the... By the way, this is one of the worst written articles I've ever heard. There's so many for Ryan Truex. Remember we were saying, who could come in and what's going on with Ryan Truex? So we were just throwing out conjecture. Yeah. Spider loves to see the pieces and and try to put them together. And so we were all throwing out stuff that I don't even know if we were giving C pluses to, and it got picked up. And so the guy said, take it with a grain of salt, but this is something that is out there, and it is out there because of you. Daniel Diorio, a.k.a. Spider, which they misspelled. How do you feel about this, and what's the follow-up comment?
I want to be clear. I don't have any one-way certainty scoop on Martin Truex Jr. I'm just simply reporting a possibility that was relayed to me by someone that has otherwise gained my trust. I did not report it as gospel. I did not say gonna, as this article suggested. There's a possibility. I mean, anything happens. Who's to say Dale Jr. doesn't come back and drive that car? Now, are you going to go write an article saying that? No.
You're damn right
that's not what I'm getting at. But I guess my point is, I feel as though it's my responsibility to share the little scoops or whatever little tidbits of information I gather throughout the week. And this is one of the few places where I can talk NASCAR with the boys. So I just throw stuff out there. It's not like I made this up. As I said on last week's episode, this is the same person that gave me Kyle Busch to RCR. Granted, that one was a lot more. I had a lot more reason to believe that one as truth.
But you wouldn't even grade this one,
right?
This was off the board for us. I think myself and Quiggs gave it a D, as far as it goes, because it was Ryan Truex, who doesn't have a full-time ride in Xfinity, is now going to come just because they don't want to change the sticker on the fucking door. I don't know what the idea behind it is, but I won't even tell you who reported it because I don't want to embarrass other news outlets.
I will say this. I do appreciate the blogs giving this show coverage,
Yeah, of course.
I love seeing Rubbin' His Racing on Double XL and all these outlets, but at the same time, I just feel the need to reiterate that was simply a possibility that I was reporting. Not a fact.
And they say Spider scooped it, but they put my fucking face in the thumbnail.
They
my
also-
big ass fucking head. Like cut off my thumbnail too,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't even off like the podcast.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did
it
us
was-
dirty all the way around.
It was just
They could have even like taken a screenshot of either of you from the podcast.
They
You
changed
can literally
the
see
quote.
the recap graphic. It's crazy.
yeah.
So either way, let's keep going with headlines. Adam Stern wrote in the Sports Biz Journal, NASCAR floated the possibility of changing a clause in its charter system that would newly allow a member of the France family to buy into a team starting in 2025. This puts the hair on my neck up right away because it just reeks of what I used to avoid when I could, and it's called insider trading, right? This came out of talks to strike a new revenue sharing agreement that would start next year in tandem with NASCAR's fresh media rights agreement. Boys, should Congress be allowed to buy stocks that they can make legislation on that could hurt or help them before they take a position? And can the France family own part of a NASCAR team when it seems like they have the keys to the fucking shop?
I think first of all, fuck Nancy Pelosi, insider trading. But
Great
those are
rack.
two different things. They should not be able to pass laws on stocks and whatnot, companies that they are invested in. But that being said, NASCAR is a different beast. I don't also think that the France family should be allowed ownership for a team, as this news story suggested, but it sounds like they agreed and ultimately decided against it. I do think it is interesting, as people have mentioned when this news broke, that you look at IndyCar, which is owned by Roger Penske, and he's owns teams in that as well. So by that metric, it's the precedent is set. It already is something that occurs in competing motorsports series. So I don't know. Part of me feels like it could have happened, but.
Did Penske, I don't really keep up with IndyCar, but did Penske go the opposite way where he went from owning a team and then buying into IndyCar? Or did he
honestly
own IndyCar and then be like, I want a team?
I think he was in it before. I'm not 100%
that would be my
sure.
guess.
I know he also owns Indy Motor Speedway, so he's very in bed with IndyCar.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Part of me feels like the France family has, done right by NASCAR the whole time, and it's a successful thing, and they kind of deserve it. The other part of me feels like that's a massive conflict of interest. But I feel like I need to know more about the Penske thing before I can cast judgment one way or the other.
It just went, I don't know. It's like if they had a team and won, the amount of just cheating allegations and stuff would be insane. They could do everything absolutely right by the book. Every time they win, they cheated, they fixed it, they rigged it. It almost just wouldn't be worth it.
I feel like they would have to have it be some sort of all-star car, or like Trackhouse at the Project 97. The France family would have to have I don't know, something where they bring in all-stars, or maybe some storylines that are relevant to whatever track they're racing at, or if there's a historical significance for a driver. Something like that could be cool, but to actually be a competitive team racing for the championship, I feel like is too conflicting.
Yeah.
I think it's a Pandora's box. They don't, particularly as the more I find out about how cunty NASCAR fans who just want to complain about everything can be, this is opening up a whole other lane for cuntiness, if you can excuse my French. Going to switch gears here to something that I'm loving. So there's a guy, Gluck, and he puts Jeffrey Gluck, I believe.
Jeff Gluck, yep.
Jeff Gluck, yeah, does a very good job on Sirius. Sometimes he fills in, and then he does this poll every week where he says good race, bad race, and it seems to be a pretty good barometer of how people feel about it. By the way, this past week was off the charts. Tested off. Kansas was the highest approval rating from the Jeff Gluck Twitter poll. In years maybe. I don't know, but it was very positive. The reason I'm mentioning this is that every week somebody comments on it. It's Carson Hocevar, who comments as if he's like a casual fan. Hey, dear Jeff, the race wasn't that good for me. Everyone else comments, I didn't like the race because there was too many commercials. And Carson Hocevar says, I didn't like the race because when I hit the wall in turn 3, he just comment, and it's pretty cool. So I'm starting to like Carson Hocevar more and more. And then he does this stunt this week because, as we know, the All-Star Racing the All-Star race voting has started. So two guys have really stood out. One of them has been Justin Haley. And if you guys haven't seen Justin Haley's hype video for voting for him for the All-Star race, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go check it out. It's the Hail Yes campaign. And he starts a real tongue-in-cheek about how he's going to fix everything that's wrong. He's going to rub up against, instead of build the wall or tear down the wall, he's going to rub up against the wall. Like, he's doing it all in NASCAR terms, and it's very, 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 very well shot. This Hail Yes campaign for Justin Haley. Then Carson Hocevar takes it in a different direction. He orders up cameos from 3 different drivers, Kaz Grala, Anthony Alfredo, and Austin Dillon, saying that his name is Carson, he's in high school, and he's running for like school president or something. And they just want their endorsement. So just to say, hey, Carson. So Austin Dillon, hey, Carson, heard about you, being in this tight race. Just so you know, you have my vote. Hey, Kaz Grala, and then Anthony Alfredo seemed like he may have been in on the joke. I love this fact. I really love that NASCAR is trying to have more and more personalities, because sometimes you can get lost in personality, especially in this day and age where everyone is so fucking tight. What do you guys think of this, and how does it make you feel about Carson Hocevar? Would it make you just throw a fucking vote in for him? I didn't even know if I was going to vote for this thing. I wound up throwing a vote in for Carson Hocevar.
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, he driving. If you separate driving from personality, I think Carson is deserving of a vote in itself. He's done really well with the opportunity before him this season. And then you add in all this extra charisma that he seemingly has on pit road and in the garage and when the cameras come around. I think it's fantastic. I think he's definitely deserving of a vote. I would vote for him myself. And there was also, I think it was Bubba Wallace was getting interviewed, and he just basically photobombed him in the background and was like, vote for me, mouthing vote for me, which I loved. And I don't know, if there's a guy that's kind of on the fringe that deserves it, it's Carson Hocevar. So he has my vote. I will be voting for Carson.
Yeah, I love Carson.
Yeah, you like him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Fox Sports reporting Stuart Haas has sent prospective buyers information on what it would take to purchase a charter. 2 questions for you boys. Who's buying this thing, and what charter does SHR sell first? I'll give everyone a reminder. The 4-car, right? Berry just stepped in for our friend Kevin Harvick. Then you have the 10-car, Gragson stepping in for Eric Amarola. Then you have our old buddy Briscoe in the 14. And then Ryan Preece, guy who flipped 12.5 times last season, in the 41. They also have Cole Custer and Riley Herbst down in Xfinity. So in their Cup Series, the 4, the 10, the 14, and the 41, is it glaringly obvious which charter they'd sell?
I think so.
I think so as well. To me, the question is, if they sell a second one, is who's the second driver that would unfortunately be on the chopping block. To me, it pains me to say, because this is a driver that I love and have a lot in common with, is Connecticut-born Ryan Preece in the 41. I feel like would unfortunately probably be the first casualty should there be a charter sold at SHR. Do you agree with that, Quiggs?
Yeah, for the first one, right?
Yes.
It's got to be.
Yeah, it's Preece.
Yeah.
It's got to be, right? I mean, they just signed Noah to a I went back for the December announcement. Stuart Haas has signed Noah Gragson to a multi-year contract that will see the 25-year-old lost name, blah, 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 beginning in 2024. Multi-year contract, right? And then it seems like they're making an investment in Josh Berry. And like we said, the patriarch of the place seems to be Briscoe, right?
Yeah,
and
I think, to me, I think you have to protect Noah Gragson and Chase Briscoe. Noah, obviously, as you just said, Large, has a multi-year contract. He's been the best driver in your stable thus far, and he's he's like a young guy with plenty of upward growth. And then Chase Briscoe, longest tenured Stuart Haas driver at this point, who also is the only one to win. So I don't think you can cut him loose too. I appreciate what Stuart Haas has done for drivers like Josh Berry and Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece was a guy that paid his dues and was a backup driver, and finally got to Stuart Haas. And I remember when Tony Stewart hired him and put him in the 41, he said he could have hired a young kid that paid his way, but instead he decided to go with Ryan Preece and someone that paid his dues, which I appreciate them hiring him for that. I wish Ryan had, unfortunately, more to show for it in the time that he had at Stuart Haas, but I think he's out. And yeah, I don't know. I think the same can be said for Josh Berry. He's a guy that kind of had an untraditional path to Cup, and due to the powers that be at Stuart Haas and the help from Dale Jr., they got him there, but he's there now. I do feel as though he probably should have more than just the small sample size he does to kind of prove what he's capable of. But unfortunately, if there are charters being sold and guys got to be going, those would probably be the first two. My second would be Barry. Quiggs, do you agree with that? Noah has a multi-year contract. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah.
I mean, could that just be thrown out?
It also
multi-year could mean this year and next. And
right.
He also sell their charter at the conclusion of 25. Like I don't know the ins and outs of it, and I know sometimes these things, like my contract here at Barstool, has a lot of, has more angles than a fucking stop sign. They could fire me for using the C word already twice. So I don't
also
really know.
when you sell the charter, you're selling the number with it, right?
Yes, I also think
then they'd never get rid of the 4.
Well,
but like, could they sell the 41 and switch like Priest to the 4? Is that how they? Would do it?
So let me ask you this then. Follow-up question: what do you think the 2 best numbers at Stewart-Haas are? I think it's probably
they can keep the numbers
4 and the 14, 4 and the 10.
Yeah, like BJ.
Okay, so
BJ
the number is not
and
like attached to
sold
the
for
charter.
billions of dollars or whatever last year to Spire, so they can keep the number.
Okay.
Who's going to buy it? Who's going to buy this thing?
I would say the teams that are looking to buy charters, Trackhouse, who has more drivers than they have cars, charters. Maybe RFK, excuse me, with Justin Haley now. Looks like they were trying to get him as their third car. 2311 could potentially, I've long said that I feel like they're looking to expand. Who did I feel like I'm forgetting one. Trackhouse.
I think that's got to be the 3, right? I don't know how to rank them, but somebody had said Junior Motorsports, but he didn't want to buy one when it was like $5 million, and now it's, I don't know if it's 10x that or whatever, but these things, I don't know what the pricing is as far as how much it'll be a comp to what BJ had done, but I would think probably at the top of the list I'd put RFK, thinking that they would want to, have a 3-car stable inside the Cup Series. But yeah, Trackhouse seems like they have a lot of money to spend. So perhaps, and then 2311, it seems like it's a very interesting time to put one of these things up for sale. The demand, I think, is there. It's a seller's market, as I think they say in real estate. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing comes through.
I think we're going to have a lot of exciting drama between drivers changing teams and a lot of shake-up this offseason.
2311 buying it would cause a lot of drama.
All right, another hypothetical while we're on this topic. Sure. 2311 buys the charter. What who?
I think for Denny. Maybe not immediately. Maybe there's a placeholder driver, but them getting another charter is the first step of Denny going to 23.
I just saw it hit the newswire. Rubbin is racing Sean Quigley, a.k.a. Quiggs, reporting Denny Hamlin buying it for himself.
Hear me out on this. 2311 gets outbid by. This is what I'm projecting. This is what I'm predicting. Don't write it in the news journals. Sure. I'm saying 2311 gets outbid by RFK or Trackhouse for this upcoming charter that's for sale. They instead merge with Ricky Stenhouse and JTG Doherty, add him as the 3rd car, which he races for a couple more years until Denny's current Gibbs contract is up. Then Denny assumes the Ricky contract. Ricky then retires. Everyone's happy. Both veteran drivers can remain relatively happy.
Spider just retired Ricky Stenhouse.
In a couple years. Can't
even keep it. He's got to retire.
Well, no. We've retired Martin Truex and Ricky Stenhouse, and I'm fucking here for it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be my face on the fucking thumbnail. It doesn't matter, Spider. You can say anything, right? Michelle Obama buys the charter, which Quiggs would love. Yeah. Everyone was talking about this shit, the F1 concessions in Miami. It hits home. F1 did very well in the, give credit where credit's due, right? In the TV ratings, partially they beat out NASCAR this week, partially because NASCAR had the big rain delay and whatnot. But one of the things that was going around, I think the guys at Pardon My Take were talking about it, everyone seemed to touch upon it, was these concession prices, which when I saw, I just assumed, I was looking for like how they were photoshopped.
Yeah,
because this is, I've been to some high-end events, as I know we all have been. This is the worst I've ever seen. To pay $280 for a lobster roll, to pay $290 for a U5 chilled prawn. It said prawn. It's got to be a couple of shrimp in there, I'm hoping. $2.90 for the F1 platter. Seems like an absolute steal because it has sliders, a quesadilla, and chicken tenders. But like even nachos are $180. The bows, the steamed buns are $120. You can add caviar to anything you want for an extra $400. Manoli is an F1 guy. Manoli, you show up there. Is this something that you would fucking do?
So if you have unlimited money, you're probably going to the Miami Grand Prix in the first place. From what I've seen, it's not like you're not getting like a single lobster. It's supposed to be like sweet food, but
Oh, okay.
From what I've heard also though, it's like
a platter.
It's like $300 lobster roll, whatever, but it's saying it's like feeding 4 to 10. I saw jokes that it's like 4 Americans or 10 Europeans.
Oh, okay.
That's what I keep hearing is It's gonna be like bite-sized lobster rolls. It's still an arm and a leg. It's still ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're the voice of reason on this thing because I thought that it was absolutely an abomination to the Lord. That's the only shine that F1's going to get on this podcast right now. Last thing I'm going to mention is this. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Oh, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be on next week. We got Dale Earnhardt on the show next week, probably burying the lead there. We do not have a guest this week. We're recording on Tuesday. But we're going to have Junior on next week. And it's in conjunction with the fact that it's officially announced, a long time rumored and whatnot, that he's going to be in the booth for TNT and Amazon in 2025. So congratulations to him. He makes everything better, it seems like, right? Or am I blowing this guy way too much? It just seems like he makes everything better.
I agree, and I also think he's going to force all of the TV networks to get better. Fans have been critical enough with the existing coverage, and now you're adding in a new TV provider with arguably the best personality behind it. And to me, that's going to force NBC and Fox to have to evolve to compete with hopefully Amazon's better product, which will in turn result in better pricing products for across all 3 broadcast partners for our sport. That's my logic, at least. I don't know.
No, I agree with that.
Are you skeptical on Amazon's coverage? Like, are you skeptical how it's going to be? And I have an opinion on this, which I'll share in a second. But is anyone skeptical on how this is going to work out?
I'm not. And here's why. Back to the thing of NASCAR fans being so critical. The current broadcast coverage is so subject to criticism on any given week that Amazon could come in and, as long as they have the same amount of commercials and let's say they get a better angle of the crash that wasn't captured on Fox, they're going to be content. They're going to be satisfied, even if that means having to subscribe to a new subscription service or get Amazon Prime or whatever.
Yeah, but like everyone has Amazon Prime.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Maybe just like my world that I'm in, but like everybody has Amazon Prime. It's not like a huge. It's not like they're doing it on like Paramount that
I also have
some people don't have.
I have reason to believe that the Amazon segment of the season will be some of the most exciting 6 races of the calendar next year.
I think they're going to kill it.
I think they're going to kill it, and I think for more reasons than other people are privy to right now, which I'm currently working on a story for trying to bring get some confirmation on, and hopefully Dale Jr. coming on the show next week will
I can't wait for you to put his feet to the fire, Spider.
I kind of just want to say it now.
So much out of. Do you want? No.
Say it.
All right, I'm just going to say it now. Since I'm giving predictions, I already predicted Ricky Stenhouse to to 2311. I'm going to predict that Amazon and Dale Jr. are going to announce an in-season tournament as proposed by Denny Hamlin, and that they're going to broadcast. That Dale Earnhardt will do the play-by-play or broadcast coverage for. Amazon will broadcast on Amazon Prime, and we will get a 6-race in-season tournament like Denny Hamlin outlined last season on his podcast. And I think it's going to be fantastic. And for that reason, back to my point, I think the other 2 TV providers are going to have to evolve in a big way if they're going to be serious about competing.
So you're saying that they'll team up with a sports book, perhaps, and obviously the best sports book to do it with would be DraftKings, and then set up some sort of tournament. What they already have the 6 races, but they're going to put some wood in the game by setting up that round.
I'm not sure about the gambling side of things. I think it will be kind of similar to like the NBA, how they did things this year to kind of add excitement mid-season. Like there will be some sort of award given based on these few races. Again, this is a prediction. This is a Spider prediction. Don't go writing it in your
No, it makes sense.
yeah, and I think it's going to be fantastic. My question is, while we're on this topic for you guys, who would you want in the booth alongside Dale Jr.? Is there another driver? Is there another broadcaster? I have my pick, and it's pretty chalky. I've been following this story. A lot of people say Alan Bestwick, who I'm personally big fan of. He's the guy that said Dale Jr. using lessons learned from his father goes from 25th to 1st when Dale Jr. won in 2001 at Daytona following the loss of his father, which is one of the most goosebumps NASCAR moments of all time. So if there's a guy that I would want beside him, it's Alan Bestwick. I also met Alan in a charity golf event for someone that died due to cancer, and Alan was nice enough to play and give his time in the tournament and shake hands, which I appreciate. So I'm a big Alan Bestwick guy. I'd like to see him in the booth, but alongside Dale Jr. Guys, is there someone that you feel should be there beside him?
Trying to think of people that aren't currently on a broadcast.
It could be.
You know who? I don't even know if this is good, but who I brought up earlier that I liked he's kind of in the NASCAR world, Marty Smith.
Okay.
I like his voice. I think he's knowledgeable about NASCAR. He loves it.
That would be a really cool.
Him with like Junior, who knows NASCAR inside and out and can like really say what's going on the track. I think he'd be pretty good.
That would kind of be like a Manning cast vibe too, like kind of like a more. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I like the two drivers plus somebody else who's relatively unbiased but knowledgeable. So I'll say Junior. And then, obviously, when Truex retires this year after Bass walks away, as per Spider, put Truex in the booth. He would never say a fucking word. And you compliment them all with the third guy, and it'd be Moonhead. I think that would be a perfect fucking
yeah, let's
booth,
get
wouldn't
Moonhead
you,
on.
man?
That would be awesome.
Let's get it going,
I mean,
boys.
Moonhead does a great job on the Moon Car broadcast on the Twitch. If you have not seen those, make sure you definitely tune in. But, yeah, I think that would be must-see
I find his
TV.
voice to be soothing. This is my concern, guys.
Yeah.
So there's a show out called Reacher. Reacher, this gigantic, it's made for dads. Reacher is fucking made for dad. I don't know a single dad who doesn't fucking love it because it's like kind of old school. Just this giant guy going around and just punching holes in people. And every fucking delivery I get from Amazon, we get quite a bit at my house, had tape on the packages that had Reacher. Coming May 12th. Reacher. Like, it was shoved down my fucking throat. So much so that I wound up watching it and I enjoyed it immensely. I mean, right in my fucking wheelhouse. You fast forward to this past weekend. PBC is one of the boxing promoters, alongside like Top Rank or Matchroom or even like Don King, if you want to talk about that fucking crook. So PBC, when Showtime had exited boxing, PBC decided that they were going to do their pay-per-view on Amazon. So they had the Canelo fight this weekend alongside DAZN. So DAZN and PBC had, the distribution rights. DAZN and, Amazon had the distribution, the airing rights for this. I didn't hear shit about this fucking fight on Amazon. So much so that people had reached out to me and said that I personally, for Barstool, in conjunction with DAZN, promoted the fight more than Amazon did. They just sort of thought that the most popular fighter in Mexico and one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, Canelo Alvarez, might sell itself. I can't imagine they did well on that. I honestly, I haven't heard anything about it, so I don't know. I really need for them to. Those are the two experiences that I had: Reacher and professional boxing. And they killed it on one, and they shit the bed on the other. So it remains to be seen. But having our guy, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a step in the right direction. I saw something on Mark Martin. He popped up again. Was Mark Martin? Did he comment on the rap beef shit that's going on?
He did, and it's funny you mentioned that because I text
fresh set of downs. I love it.
I sent Quiggs a text like. Right as the Drake and Kendrick beef was brewing over, and I was like, we got to get Mark Martin back on the show to break this down for us. And then I tune into the race, and like 10 minutes later, it was Mark Martin on the fucking race, and they had a whole segment about him talking about his love for Gucci Mane, kind of as he did on our show, sure. And then he talking about how his what he makes of all this beef. He didn't, I will say, and I'm a Mark Martin guy, I commend him for coming on the show. He gave us one of our most viral clips ever. I didn't like how he didn't pick a side. I needed Mark to pick a side. He said that he speak highly of Kendrick, and then they showed Drake wearing one of the Viagra racing jackets that Mark Martin formerly like a old vintage piece of Mark Martin merch. So he kind of was down the middle. I needed to know from Mark Martin whose side specifically he was on, but I did love to see that the I don't know what
he'd
tail.
be on Kendrick's side.
You think
for
so?
Sure, yeah. I mean, he's
that's
talking
the right side, right?
He said that he
BBL
liked.
Drizzy?
He said he loved that Kendrick was from Compton.
and he's talked shit about Drake in the past.
Mark has.
Yeah, I think he tweeted like back in 2015, Drake soft as tissue paper.
Well, there you go. Maybe he is Kendrick.
I mean, if you're picking Drake, then you've got to have a bit of a smooth brain on you. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, why are you picking a fight with the greats of the generation?
It's done.
He's a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Yeah. We're gonna get dragged if we don't talk about one of the most exciting race finishes, or the closest race finish in NASCAR history. So let's get over to Kansas and what happened this weekend. Kansas, an elite track now, as far as I'm concerned. We're never disappointed when it goes there. I mean, everyone complains about the packages and whatnot, but it seems like the intermediates are where these guys have their most wood to chop, and they really came through this weekend. There was a rain delay, unfortunately, and then when the rain let up, the track was cooler than what they expected. It's kind of cool that Kansas has lights there, too, so they weren't so, battling that sundown type thing. I just want to point something out, and I'll send you the clip, Manoli, if you decide to clip this out. I pay attention to the national anthem and stuff. I pay attention to drivers start your engine, all that shit. Jimmy was driving the Advent Health car, so he gave the starting command from the car, and it was nothing special. But Jimmy Johnson was able to do that from the car. It's the first time I saw that. I thought it was pretty cool. If you guys go back and watch the tape of when they're getting towards the end of the national anthem, people who've been to a bunch of races or have watched it, right after the national anthem ends, they time it perfectly, and that's when the flyover happens. So they're like kind of panning from Kyle Larson to Carson Hocevar, and then they pan over to McDowell. And McDowell is standing there with his whole family, including that young Asian boy in front of him who he adopted. I spoke about this story. This child was born with his birth defect that essentially gives him this deformity on his extremities. Some people call it like lobster claws and stuff like that. I'm not poking fun by saying that at all, but I know like Jim Lampley's ex-wife had something similar, and I just can't remember the exact name of this deformity. So this kid was essentially being thrown away. And McDowell had gone over with his wife and adopted this kid, saving his life. And I had first seen it when they were kissing the bricks at the Brickyard last year. I had written about it. We had spoke about it on the show. I really fucking admire this guy. As a father, and I also have my oldest son is adopted. So I'm an adoptive father too. So I kind of, maybe have a horse in this race. So I'm sitting there watching him with his lovely family, including this newborn that they just had. He has biological children that kind of look like he spit them out, just handsome white kids, this infant in his wife's arms, this young Asian boy in front of him. And as the fucking flyover comes, they had these giant planes this time. As the flyover comes, he's got all this shit going on in his mind, about to hop into the 34 and run the race to Kansas. He knows enough to go and covers the baby's ears. To me, that's fucking priceless. We talk about heroes and stuff like that. I got to buy a fucking T-shirt or something. So Father's Day coming up and whatnot, start rooting for this son of a bitch. But I noticed that. Chris Bell and Ross started off in the front row. This was the scene of the crime where Ross punched Noah last year, for people who remember. Denny won stage one with Ross and Kyle Larson closely behind him. That made 16 straight races with Denny leading at least one lap, which is his personal best. Congratulations on that. Then Chris Buescher wins stage two, was his first stage win of 2024. Then his team came over the wall too soon, so he had to start the final stage in the back, but managed to climb his way forward. It was a clean race through the first two stages. Beginning of that final stage, it got a little bit sloppy. I think there was at least three cautions in a row in that final stage. But Buescher claws his way back to the front of the pack, and then Kyle Busch's spin on lap 261 of a scheduled 267 sent the race into overtime, where Buescher took the lead on the restart on this two-lap shootout, only to have Larson pull even on the backstretch in the final lap, and Larson edged out Chris Buescher for the closest win in NASCAR history. You'd sent out Spider. What did you think? Better finish, Atlanta or Kansas? I had Ford plus 650. and people were calling me an idiot for it.
Heartbreaking.
I said that I had to take it because I thought it was too good odds. So I really did have some wood there, right? I had a horse in the race again, to use the same thing because I'm winning so many horse races.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't even close. I was up with the rain delay. I just flew back from Vegas. I was able to catch the race. I was so happy that I didn't have to watch it, stay away from social so nobody ruined it for me. So I had a really perfect racing experience, and that fucking race blew my socks off from beginning to end. We'll talk about what people are complaining about, the way they painted the line, but I had no complaints, so it wasn't even close. Talk to me about how you guys felt about the end of the race. Talk to me how you felt about it in comparison to Atlanta, the whole deal, because this one was an absolute doozy.
I think Atlanta was a better finish simply for the fact that we got a much long shot winner that was unpredicted, and then also for the reason that it was a 3-wide finish. But I do think that it is a fair conversation given the fact that this Sunday race at Kansas was the closest margin of victory ever. So I'm personally Team Atlanta, but I was curious to hear your guys' take. And I also love the fact, as I mentioned previously, we've now seen 3 photo finishes, 2 in the Cup Series and then another in the Xfinity Series with Ryan Sieg and Sam Mayer. So I really love the racing we're getting. To me, Atlanta still trumps it, but the fact that we got even closer finish than the one we saw just a few weeks ago is crazy in the same calendar year. Now, 2 of the 4 closest wins ever this season. So pretty awesome.
By the way,
racing.
The P3 and P4, like somebody said, you could have put a blanket over
Yeah.
P1 through P4. Like everybody was within, fractions of a second. And I know we had a 3-wide finish in Atlanta, when you throw Kyle in there also along with Blaney. But,
Right.
I mean, this has been a great fucking season.
It
I mean,
has.
the follow-through. But I'm going to ask this question to you, Quiggs. How bad did you feel for Quiggs was the first one to tweet out, just call it a tie. Because, same thing with horse racing. Like, I didn't speak up, and then I casually said to Cody, by the way, I had it. And he's like, what? You had it? I'm like, yeah, I just hit for another whatever. You don't know right away. Everything is unofficial until it's not. Everything's unofficial until they pass inspection, right? So there's no immediacy in NASCAR. But Buescher's team were told somehow that they had won, and they went bananas, man. It meant so much for that pit box and for the driver and all that stuff. I felt absolutely heartbroken. I do not hate Kyle Larson by any stretch of the imagination, but he has enough wins. Like this kid, and he raced him hard, right down, into checker. He raced him hard, and Spider asked a good question too. What if Denny raced Buescher that hard and edged out that inch win too? So I'll ask you guys both this question. How bad did you feel for Chris Buescher? And then what would happen if it wasn't Kyle Larson? If it wasn't a guy who's known for being a decent and relatively clean racer? Because it was very fucking aggressive on that final stretch.
My takeaway for Buescher isn't as much heartbreak as it is like encouragement. To me, I feel like I said earlier, he's on the premise of becoming what we saw last year. And if there's a Ford driver that can really, turn some heads and be unexpected, I feel like it was Buescher last year. And based on this race, it was him this weekend. So I don't know. I think it was really encouraging, especially as you mentioned, the late race penalty where his pit crew was over the line too early. Mm-hmm. He pretty much eliminated that relatively handily. So I was encouraged and bullish on that. And if he's able to do that in the future moving forward, I think it's only a matter of time before he's competing for another win. Larson also was like plus 270 to win this. So as exciting of a finish as it was, the guy who was, thought to win ended up winning. Granted, the fans are lucky that we got a lot more than just the favorite in a chalky race where the favorite just won handily. That was not the case. So I really, I'm more encouraged for Buescher than I am, empathetic or disappointed.
Yeah, I think it's heartbreaking for the pit crew more than anybody because they could have got away with the fact that they sent him to the rear when he's having such a good race, which I guess ultimately it didn't matter. He was up at the top for the final restart anyway, but they put the little graphic that he won.
They put the checker next
which
to him.
Is just such a tease. They just shouldn't put that if it's that close. But yeah, it's got to be tough. But it's also like an awesome thing to be a part of. I think Larson said, he's like, yeah, I didn't even like care who won. It was like that was just awesome racing and an awesome thing to be a part of.
But Buescher didn't agree with him.
True.
Like,
also, Kyle did win. So
like, yeah, like Buescher was, when they put a microphone in his face, he was dejected. Yeah. And the guys up in the pit box were. It was just abject horror for these guys. Because again, the fate of Ford rides on the shoulder of every Ford driver week in and week out. His chances to get into the playoffs diminish as every week passes by. So this was very important to that team, and to have it basically taken away from him. I don't know. I felt awful for him. Do you think that Kyle raced him clean? Do you think that if somebody else did the exact same thing, let's just pick up somebody who causes people to have an opinion. If it was Kyle Busch, if it was Bubba Wallace, if it was Denny Hamlin who raced him exactly the way that Kyle Larson did, right? Do you think that more people would be up in arms about it not being clean races and Buescher might have got fucked there?
I think people would have been pissed if it were Denny. Any of the other guys you mentioned, I feel like would have had to do what they would have had to do that move to get the win. It would have been probably a lot of those guys' first wins. So yeah, I think that it's a fair move. I'm more so just curious to see how the internet would have responded if that were Denny Hamlin racing Chris Buescher for the lead there and that transpired. But no, I'm personally fine with the finish. I think you have to make that move, and Rubbin is Racing is the name of the show. They were beating and banging all the way to the line. That's as dream of a finish as you could, dream it up. So I was really happy with it.
It was awesome. I mean, honestly, we've been trying to say how NASCAR is back and all that stuff, but I thought that for a sport that you can't pass, you can't do anything. To see Kyle Busch spin out and then somehow get a P10. He was P8, I think, got into the top 10. See Buescher go from the back of the field like he did. There was a lot of impressive moves through the pack throughout that race. Great pit strategy race. I thought it was. I just thought that it was a complete race, and I was happy that I got to watch it in real time.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Kyle Larson, another fucking win.
Like that battle for the lead in stage one of just. I think it was
awesome.
Denny and Chastain going back and forth was unbelievable.
I mean, I know everyone's talking about the finish, but the whole overtime was incredible. Even with the restart when Larson shot to the inside
that move was crazy.
And pulled by him and somehow made it work. And then you look at it seemed like there was only one way for him to win that race, and he somehow hit all of his marks and just nailed what he had to do and made it happen.
Yeah.
I did not think he was going to be able to get there, and then next thing you know, him and Buescher were on each other's doors beating and banging, which made for an unbelievable finish.
And then Larson was giddy like a schoolgirl doing the Polish victory lap. I mean, he was out like, yeah, look at
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was exciting for him to be a part of. But might have been season changing for Buescher if he would have came out on top. All right, we're gonna get to over and unders, but first we're gonna pick the nobody's cooler person that was just cool as shit this week. Doesn't necessarily have to be a racer; it can be anybody. It's brought to you by Arctic Outdoors, who believe that great quality gear shouldn't cost a whole paycheck. All of their products. I'm talking about these insulated cups that I use every week. It's got large right there. They're coolers, everything. They're overbuilt, not overpriced, meaning durable products that also cost 30 to 50% less than their competitors. Premium coolers and drinkware engineered to perform and overbuilt to last year in and year out. Best thing in it, Arctic is now available at Walmart. So head to your local store to shop in person. And don't forget, Arctic Outdoors is the official cooler and drinkware of NASCAR. And if you don't want to head to Walmart, then head to arcticoutdoors.com to check out more. That's RTIC. There's no A in this one. RTIC outdoors.com. RTIC outdoors.com. Pick yourself. I put iced tea in this thing about 4 or 5 hours ago, and it's still chilly as my wife's heart. All right, so nobody's cooler. I'm going to take Ricky Craven this week. So the previous closest finish in NASCAR history were two finishes that were tied. Ricky Craven's .002 second win over Kurt Busch in 2003 at Darlington, and then Jimmy Johnson's victory over Clint Bowyer at Talladega in 2011, also by the same margin. So these guys have held on to this since 2003 and 2011. And Ricky Craven, who hadn't been on Twitter since the passing of Sherry Pollux, where he put out some sort of condolence tweet, tweeted out, "Passing the torch to Kyle and Chris. Congratulations, guys. Hell of a race. And Kurt Busch, we had a couple of decades of celebration, and that won't end. Most importantly, you become a good friend, brother. Yesterday, everyone in our sport won." Very, very classy way. Like, there are people who kind of hold their tongue when they're in the stands while somebody breaks their record. You know, we see it a lot in other sports, and I thought the way that this was handled was just so friendly, so nice, and so NASCAR. So I'm saying nobody's cooler than Craven. And a close second was Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez passed his whatever immigration test. Yeah, citizenship test.
Yeah.
So he's going to have dual citizenship with Mexico and the United States, and it's just refreshing to see a young man from Mexico like Daniel Suarez actually do it the fucking legal way. You know what I mean? So I'm giving it out to both of them. Fuck it. All right. Over under. Anybody got anybody who impressed them or didn't impress them this week?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Go.
I was impressed with Noah again, another top 10 for Noah Gragson. Obviously, Chris Buescher. Those were the two Fords that stood out to me. And then, I don't know, Larson, impressive finish with that late restart move. I would say I would take the over on Larson, despite him being plus 260 and expected to win this race, simply for his overtime performance. I think he showed the fuck up, and he literally, as I previously said, he hit every mark he needed to. He nailed the restart. He nailed the side-by-side with Buescher, and he got the win. So I was impressed with Larson. It wasn't as chalky as it seemed to be going into the race, but he still answered. So Larson and then really those two Fords, Gragson, and those guys stuck out to me. So.
What about you, big man? Anybody fuck with you or did it impress you?
Yeah, I mean, Buescher was unbelievable. Just the way he came back. Like, he almost acted like the getting sent back to the back of the pack didn't happen. He was right back up there. Right. It's unbelievable. I'll go over just on this season. I can't remember a season that has had this much shit talking about how bad the car is or package or like the racing is, and it's probably produced three of the top 10 races in the past like 5-10 years from this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good time that if somebody started the Netflix special and said, you know what, I'm going to start to tune into this, and started to get into it more, like these idiots that we work with outside are talking about the end of the NASCAR race, which they've never done before, the guys that we work with in HQ. So that's a good indicator. So, yeah, I think
it's hitting a lot of highs, and if they can slowly wean out the tracks that are stinkers, they can get a really good product going.
I agree 100%. And to your point, Large, coming in on Monday, I had more people in the office that I would say are not NASCAR fans say to me, like, how about that finish or what a race? So, yeah, I think to your guys' point, it is reaching new audiences just based on the quality of racing and finishes we've seen this year.
I don't want to take anything away from this race, and I don't want to put a negative pallor on it. Am I beating a dead horse by putting Jimmy Johnson back in the under?
No, put him in there.
I love him. I mean, he's now 7 races into this reintroduction. Like, he's now done 7 races, and his best finish, I think, has been 28th over those 7 race stretch of this season and last, including a 38th place finish, in Kansas, unfortunately. I thought we were going to have some smoke because Jimmy walked out onto the track and stared down Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie is the one who had sent him, and stared down Corey LaJoie. I thought he was going to throw a helmet or something. So I was like, oh, do we have smoke? Jimmy Johnson versus Corey LaJoie, Rough and Rowdy, sign it up. I listened to a little bit of Stacking Pennies today, Corey LaJoie's podcast, which broadcasts on Sirius once a week, which is a nice little gig also. And he had said that Jimmy wasn't mad at him. He was more disappointed. And when he stared him down, he looked like a dad who was just disappointed in his kid. So I think that's a very good way of putting it, too, on LaJoie's part, and a good way to avoid the smoke. So I can't give many demerits out for this race. But man, Jimmy Johnson, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm
telling
sorry.
you, I don't think he's having fun.
Yeah,
I don't think he's
listen,
having fun.
He's not, and he should be having fun. Guy's a 7-time champ. He should be having fucking fun. I never see him having fun anymore. I wanna
He's
see him
not getting
smile.
any opportunities to.
Yeah.
Every race has been miserable for him in some way.
I'll
But he's
tell
got
you.
no consistency in this gen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to race this car for 38 races, you're going to do it for 7 over 2 years so far. And
Yeah.
he's putting himself in a situation where he almost can't succeed. What were you saying, Spider? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, as much as I agree with that under of Jimmy Johnson, and it pains me to say, I do feel like I've been critical of John Hunter Nemechek previously in the pod in the past. He finished 13th here. He's got 3 top 10s this year. I feel like that's better than what I thought he was racing as, and it really kind of took me just kind of having this epiphany now to give him his flowers. So I think compared to the stats we saw last year out of that car, much better performance. Impressive with John Hunter, and then also Corey Heim looked pretty good, all things considered, at filling in. So pain for Jimmy, but I think probably satisfying performance from the other 2 guys that against all odds they performed better. So I'll take the over on the legacy guys despite Jimmy's performance.
I should mention in the headline part, Eric Jones will be racing this week.
Yep.
In Darlington. So welcome back. I'm glad that he has speedy recovery. All right, let's get to this week. So we're going to preview Darlington. It's the Goodyear 400 from Darlington Raceway in South Carolina. It's going to be airing Sunday at 3 p.m. on FS1. We got 293 laps on a 1.33 mile oval with an asphalt surface, 25-degree bankings in 1 and 2, 23 degrees in 3 and 4, and then 3 degrees on the front stretch and 2 degrees on the back stretch. So this track requires drivers to race against the wall, and that's where the term Darlington stripe came from. Grazing the wall, everyone comes out with like this stripe anywhere that they get near it. I also think it's the racetrack where they started putting in window nets after the King had flipped his car a couple times, and I think Petty had hit his head off of the fucking asphalt. I think Darlington is the reason we have nets on the windows. Hendrick Motorsports is the team with the most Darlington wins, with 14 wins total. William Byron is the defending champ, and David Pearson holds the record for most Darlington victories with 10 wins total. David Pearson will not be driving this week because he died in 2018 at the ripe old age of 83. Outside of Byron, the only active drivers to have won this race are Logano, Truex, and Hamlin. And since it's going to be throwback day, throwback night, bat night at Shea Stadium, they got a bunch of fucking great paint schemes being run this week. We're going to pick our favorites right now. And we had sent out the throwback schemes for this week, and they're awesome. So we have to pick one favorite, and then you can afterwards, whatever you guys want to say, but don't take somebody else's pick. Give me a favorite on what you guys are going to see racing this weekend.
I'll go last because I think I'm going to have the same as some of you guys, and there's more than just 3 that, you know.
Sure. What do you think?
If I get to go first, it's the Kellogg or the Hendrick Kellogg scheme, the Terry Labonte one. It's by far the best.
Yeah, and they're writing Hendrick the way they write Kellogg, right? Like it's
same script, font, and everything. That looks really clean. And honestly, that's one of the cars that I think one of the best looking vintage cars. We kind of need it back. I feel like the cars in the 90s were the best, and that's like kind of what I first think of as one of that scheme.
And you had that on your list, obviously, right, Spider?
I did. Yeah,
I'm going to go down to Xfinity. So
Okay.
you're going to have your choice because I love this Cole Trickle throwback scheme that Ryan Ellis is driving. The number
That's
43.
a good. I'm literally looking at that one right now.
It's crazy, man. And I have a couple others too, like on the board. But man, I you know what? Like sometimes when you're as old as me, and I am one old fuck. I mean, I shouldn't be buying any green bananas, but you lose track of your car on the racetrack. This thing here is guaranteed to not do that. It's the 43 in the lime green and bright yellow. I love it, man. So Ryan Ellis, number 43 Chevrolet. It's Cole Trickle throwback scheme. How about you, Spider? Who are you picking?
I'm going to go a different light. This show, we typically shit on both Alex Bowman. I say that myself does, and you guys typically shit on Jimmy Johnson and Legacy, as you just did. I'm going to combine them both and go the other way. I'm taking Alex Bowman's Jimmy Johnson 48 Lowe's scheme. I think all the Hendrick cars are hot. and they do a great job with all the throwbacks. I love seeing the flames on William Byron's, like Jeff Gordon used to have. Even, but there's some really good ones. But, I mean, I wish it's tough to pick only just one. I have a few honorable mentions I think deserve some shine as well. Brandon Jones, Hellman's, Menards, Xfinity scheme just looks like Dale Jr.'s, which looks incredible. And then another one I feel like I have to show love on is Brendan Poole's 44 Alpha Prime Racing, the Hot Wheels car, which typically Brendan Poole, and it kills me to see it, but he's typically in an unmarked car with no sponsorship. So I love seeing that he's got some bright, vibrant colors and sponsorship lined up for this week, and hopefully he can get more of that as he's well deserving of it, in my humble opinion. So there's a lot to look forward to. Always one of the best things about Darlington, but if I had to pick one, I'm going Bowman's.
Anything else jump out at you, Quicks?
I like the Busch Light scheme Chastain's running, but it's also like it's like a throwback to like 2001. I feel like it's like not even. It's like their most recent can before the upgrade, but it is a sick throwback. I don't like Chase's car very much.
Oh, you don't?
No. I honestly, there's a lot of these that I like. I don't love Byron's.
I would have liked Byron's if it were the traditional flame scheme.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like these are all decent schemes, but. And I don't know why, and I'm nitpicking because like this is what all the schemes are doing, but something doesn't feel right about the like Jimmy Johnson scheme, but not saying Lowe's.
Yeah,
I know that's dumb and doesn't make sense because that's what all of these cars are doing, but I don't know. There's something like that's throwing me off about it.
I have one other really good one, Large.
Go.
And that's Jack Wood's 91 Arctic Coolers Jocko Flacco throwback.
Oh, yeah, the blue one.
It's a throwback, honestly, that I'm never, like I said, I like the Hendrick ones because I remember seeing those cars. Obviously, I don't remember seeing Tim Flock in 1942 in the Hudson Hornet, but I love the story of it. Large has done the twisted history of Jocko Flacco, the racing NASCAR monkey, previously on the show. And Jack Woods, a friend of the program, Rubbin is Racing, has been on the side of his truck before. Arctic, a sponsor of Rubbin is Racing as well. It's really a nice collaboration. Is that even a word? Collaboration, I guess, is the word I was looking for. Of all of the things I love, Jack Wood, Arctic, monkeys,
that blue
NASCAR,
is so good too,
and it looks clean. So yeah, Truck Series, that would be my pick.
I'm on the fence about Ricky Stenhouse. He's paying homage to Mark Martin. As you know, we're a big fan of his, the 2004 Budweiser Shootout paint scheme, but he's doing it with the Oscar Mayer on the hood. Like it's, even though like the colors kind of match up, it's weird, but still it's kind of it's clean.
The side of the car is weird too.
Yeah, it's like Paisano. Yeah, so,
he's just got like which I don't know. It's kind of weird.
And I'm a simp for Ricky Stenhouse, particularly with his paint schemes, because I'm a fat guy. All right, let's put a tent on this fucking circus, and we're going to pick the tires for this upcoming weekend in Darlington. It's brought to you by DraftKings. The NBA playoffs are heating up. So is the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered every step of the way. Same game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. So don't miss out. And if you're new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code RUBBIN, RUBBIN. That's code RUBBIN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours, and every line that we're going to be giving to you guys now will be from the DraftKings Sportsbook. So that's it. We're going into Darlington. We need to make some picks. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first if I can.
Sure.
I got a lot of picks.
Go ahead,
Oh
Quicks.
shit, he's got a lot of picks.
Yeah.
That's not good.
I've been so cold lately that I gotta hit something. So I got 2 parlays and 2 straight picks. So I'll do my straight picks first. I have winning at Darlington, Ross Chastain plus 1,300.
Okay.
I thought he looked really good last race. His car looked fast. I think he'll be able to ride the wall a little bit. And plus 1,300, I like that. And then I have Bubba Wallace, top Toyota, plus 1,200. He's had some good success here. It's a little bit of a reach with how strong the Toyotas are here, but plus 1,200 I think is great odds for that. So those are my two straight picks, and then I have a top 10 parlay of Brad Kay, Tyler Reddick, and Alex Bowman that pays out plus 400. I think all those guys could be in the top 10 pretty easily. And then I have a top 5 parlay of Ross Chastain and Bubba Wallace, and that's plus 1,000. Plus 1,100.
2-driver top 5 parlay plus 1,100. Bubba and Ross in the top 5.
Yeah.
Cool.
And those are my plays. So probably hit none of them.
I'm wondering though with the Bubba one. Like you get plus 1,200 for him being the best Toyota. You get plus 2,800 with him to win the race. And who's in front of him? Like who's shorter odds in the Toyotas? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're betting that he's already going to beat Truex, that he's going to beat Chris Bell, and
Yeah, I mean you haven't factored in that I'm not going to hit any of these, so
I haven't.
So
right.
none of it matters. But I'm just trying anything.
No,
at this point.
I hear you. I appreciate the.
But yeah, I don't know if we can get a good day out of Ross and Bubba, I should make some money.
Yeah. What do you think, Spider? You want me to go or you?
I don't know what to think this week. I'm looking at there's a couple guys here. I mean, a lot of honestly the top between Larson's 4-1, Denny's 4.5, Truex is 6-1 currently. There's a lot of chalk, a lot of short odds, much shorter than I would.
A lot
like.
of short odds for a track that, like I think the past 5 races, 5 different winners.
Yeah.
You usually get those short odds on tracks where it's like pretty dominant by a few guys. So
since February 2021, according to driver averages, 6 different winners have won. Is that all 6? That's every race, right?
I think so, yeah.
So every race has been won by a different person.
That's why I don't really like taking those short odds here.
Yeah, there's no repeat winners in the field today.
And what you said, there's only 3 active drivers.
Here's what I'm going to do.
Well, 4 with William Byron, but remember they didn't race here for a number of years.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, so they took the time off. But go ahead, Spike.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Ford, who's plus 450, which I don't really like as much as I thought I was going to like it, especially given last week was plus 650. And they still have yet to win. So ideally, I would like that price to be going the other direction. But I'm taking Ford plus 450, especially if it's truly, I'm going to go with the logic that it's going to be a new winner for the 7th race here. And that's why my outrights are going to be Christopher Bell, who's plus 900. I feel like that's long enough to justify a sprinkle. He overperformed last week as much as I forgot to mention it. He was in the Yahoo car. I thought he was going to do horrible, and he still did decent. I like Bell 9-1, and I also think Chase Elliott, who finished 3rd last week, is 14-1 in good equipment and has been turning some heads and kind of over-delivering consistently based on what the expectations were for him this season. So there you kind of have one of each. To me, I'd rather take all the Fords at 450 than Denny Hamlin at 450 or Kyle Larson at 4-1, especially as Quigg said, it's been all different winners. The parity at this track is substantial. So I'm going to diversify with guys that have yet to win. Ford, Bell, Chase Elliott.
I like that.
Large, what do you got?
So, so for this one, I'm going to have one chalk winner, and I think that I'm going to take who did you just take? You took
I took Chris Bell, Chase Elliott, and Ford to win.
I'm taking Denny Hamlin. I need a chalky pick, so I'm going to take Denny Hamlin. It's only paying $450, so that's fine with me. And then I went right over to the top 10s just to kind of fuck with it. And I see a little bit of value in the top 10s, and I don't feel comfortable betting on Daniel Suarez until I found out that he's partially American. So now I'm back on that. Same reason I won't bet SVG. Fuck that guy. Daniel Suarez, welcome to the country. And Large is taking you top 10 at plus 350. Boom, put it in the books. I don't mind that at all. And
I like that.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to ride Noah 2-1 in the top 10 too. Let's keep it hot, Noah.
I like that.
So I'm going to go plus 200 Noah top 10, plus 330 Daniel Suarez. And then I'll get chalky with, I think, a plus 450 for Denny Hamlin. And that's going to be it for us. Again, if you guys want to make sure you tune in next week, but tune in every week, like and subscribe. We do have the vlog out from Talladega, which came out wonderful. Thank you so much, Manoli. So you can catch that on our Rumble page and on our social media stuff. And we have Dale Earnhardt Jr. in NYC HQ next week to talk about his new gig and everything else that you think we need to talk about. So send us questions if you want, and we'll try to get to them all. Thanks very much for listening, guys. Thanks very much for everything. We'll talk to you next week.